Daddy, is he our mommy? The words sliced through the morning quiet like glass breaking. For a second, I thought I'd imagined it. The hallway was so still that even the soft hum of the air conditioner felt too loud. My mop froze mid-swipe, water dripping onto the marble floor. Then I heard giggles. Small, bright giggles. 3 little voices, high and clear, echoing across the polished lobby of Ashford Industries, the company I'd only been working at for 2 weeks. Everyone turned. Secretaries stopped typing. Phones stopped ringing. Even the security guard's mouth fell open. And in the middle of that silence, 3 children, the CEO's triplets, were wrapped around my legs, tiny arms clinging to my faded uniform. I couldn't move. Their faces were the kind you don't forget, bright eyes, soft curls, matching smiles. They looked no older than 5. I'd seen them once, in a photo on the company's website. Liam Ashford's children. Everyone talked about them like they were royalty. And now they were hugging a janitor. Me. Their father, Liam Ashford, the man whose name made people lower their voices, stood by the elevator, frozen. His assistant looked like she'd seen a ghost. Then one of the girls looked up at him, wide-eyed, and said it again, louder this time. Daddy, is he our mommy? The room went dead silent. My throat closed. My heart started pounding so hard it hurt. I dropped the mop. The sound of it hitting the floor echoed like a gunshot. I'm sorry, I stammered. My hands trembled. I don't know them. But the kids only squeezed tighter, giggling again like nothing was wrong. I could feel everyone watching, judging, whispering. The janitor? Why the kids? Did you see how the boss looked at him? Liam finally moved, his jaw tight. He walked toward us slowly, one hand gripping the strap of his expensive briefcase. Children, he said, his voice calm but strange, let go. They hesitated, then stepped back. I caught the briefest whiff of his cologne, clean, dark, expensive, as he passed. His eyes flicked to me. For a heartbeat, something raw flickered there. Recognition. Or maybe I imagined it. Either way, I muttered another apology and backed away, head down. The rest of the day, whispers followed me like shadows. I hid in the supply room during my lunch break. My hands still shook. I wasn't used to being looked at. Not anymore. Ever since Mom got sick, I'd taken any job I could find. Night shifts, cleaning work, hospital runs. The bills were endless. I told myself this job would be temporary, just until she stabilized. But now, I wasn't sure I'd even make it through the week. Because I'd seen the CEO's face. The confusion in his eyes. The way he'd looked at me, not like a stranger, but like someone he'd almost remembered. And the worst part? I'd felt it too. A flicker. A shiver under my skin. Like I'd seen him before. Long ago. That night, I stayed late to finish mopping the executive floor. Everyone had gone home except the night guard. The silence was heavy. My reflection followed me across the glass walls. Tired eyes, hollow cheeks, a name tag that read Micah R. I was pushing the cart toward the elevator when the doors opened again. Liam stepped out. Alone. He wasn't wearing his jacket anymore, just a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. The top button undone. He looked human. Not the man people whispered about. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said quietly, "They've never done that before." I blinked. "Sir? My kids." His voice softened. "They don't talk to strangers. They're shy. But today," he trailed off, eyes searching my face. "They ran to you." I gripped the mop handle. Maybe they mistook me for someone else. He shook his head slowly. "They said you smell like home." Something twisted in my chest. "I don't know what that means," I whispered. He took a step closer. "Have we met before?" "No, too fast." "No, we haven't." He studied me, his gaze steady, almost too kind. "You're sure?" "Yes, sir." He nodded, though his eyes said he didn't believe me. "All right. Go home, Micah." As he walked away, I felt his stare linger, heavy as a hand on my back. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. The shock, the confusion, and the strange familiarity between us that I couldn't explain. And the kids, their voices echoing in my head. "Daddy, is he our mommy?" By morning, my nerves were raw. I considered quitting. But then I saw Mom's text. "Doctor says new meds might work. Don't worry about the cost." I couldn't quit. Not yet. So I went back. Pretended nothing had happened. Kept my head down and my mop moving. But people stared. And Liam, he started noticing me. At first, it was small things. His gaze lingering a second too long when we crossed paths. A question to my supervisor. "How long has that janitor been here?" Then one day, I found an envelope in the supply closet. Inside was a pay raise, with no explanation. I didn't want it. It scared me, because I knew attention from people like him never came without a price. That afternoon, I saw him standing by the window in his office, phone pressed to his ear. His reflection caught mine through the glass. For a moment, our eyes met, and everything in me froze. It felt like he was remembering something he shouldn't. The storm came suddenly that night. The city lights blurred through the downpour. I stayed late again. There was always extra work when it rained. As I stepped outside to throw out the trash, thunder rolled overhead. My thin jacket was no match for the cold. That's when I saw him again. Liam stood by his car under the awning, talking to his driver. His white shirt clung to his chest. Water dripped from his hair. He turned and saw me. Our eyes met. Something silent passed between us. He dismissed his driver and walked toward me through the rain. "Micah," he said softly. "Can we talk?" I hesitated. "Sir, You dropped this earlier." He held out a small handkerchief. Mine, embroidered with an old faded M. "I must have left it." "I know this handkerchief," he said quietly. My breath hitched. "What?" He looked almost afraid. "I've seen it before." Rain pattered between us, soft and endless. "You remind me of someone," he said. "From before." "Before what?" He swallowed. "Before the accident." I stared at him. "What accident?" He didn't answer. His eyes were distant, haunted. Something in me cracked. "Mr. Ashford." "Liam," he interrupted. "Please." The sound of my name on his lips made the world tilt. "Why do my children know you, Micah?" he asked. His voice trembled slightly now. "Why did they call you that?" I backed away, shaking my head. "I don't know. But deep down, something in me did know. Something I'd buried years ago, under hospital lights and too many goodbyes." He took a step closer, his eyes desperate now. "Tell me the truth. Who are you?" I couldn't breathe. "I'm no one." Lightning flashed, bright and merciless. And then, through the roar of rain, I heard him whisper my old name. "Aaron." The sound of it nearly stopped my heart. No one had called me that in years. Not since the night everything burned. My knees went weak. The world spun. "Don't," I whispered. "Don't call me that." He stared at me, pale, trembling. "So it's true." I turned and ran. I didn't stop until I reached the back alley, rain soaking through my clothes. I sank down against the wall, gasping for breath. How could he know that name? How could he remember? I'd changed everything. Moved cities. New papers. New life. He wasn't supposed to know. He wasn't supposed to remember me. My vision blurred. I pressed a hand to my mouth to stop the sob that rose in my throat. Memories came flooding back. A night years ago, his voice calling through the storm, a promise he never kept, a door that never opened again. And then the child. The one I never got to hold. I squeezed my eyes shut. "Not now," I whispered. "Please, not now." But fate didn't listen. "Micah." His voice came from the darkness behind me. I turned. Liam stood there in the rain, drenched, eyes wild. "I remember," he said. I froze. "What?" He stepped closer, rain dripping from his hair. "It was you that night. The hospital. The storm. The voice calling my name." "Stop," I whispered. "You were crying," he said softly. "And I left you." My heart cracked open. "Don't," I begged. "Please don't." He shook his head, almost to himself. "I thought you died." "I did," I whispered. "The person you knew did." He looked at me like I was breaking in front of him. And maybe I was. Thunder rumbled again, low and endless. Then barely audible, he said. "Why didn't you tell me?" I met his eyes. "Because you wouldn't have believed me." Lightning flashed. In that split second, I saw something behind him, a shadow near the building, watching us. My breath caught. "Liam," I said quietly. "We're not alone." He turned, but the figure was already gone. Just the echo of footsteps disappearing into the storm. And in that moment, I knew the past we'd buried hadn't stayed buried at all. The rain didn't stop that night. It hammered the city until dawn, washing away dirt but not memories. I didn't go home. I couldn't. I stayed under the small shed behind the building, shaking from cold and everything I couldn't control anymore. When the sun finally crawled out, pale and weak, my eyes burned from exhaustion. My clothes clung to my skin. I watched people arrive for work through the glass doors, pretending the night before hadn't happened. But it had. Liam remembered my name. Not Micah. Not the name on my badge. He said Aaron. That one word broke the wall I'd spent years building. I wiped my face, grabbed my mop, and went back inside before anyone saw me. My hands still trembled as I cleaned the lobby floor, the same spot where his kids had hugged me just yesterday. The echo of their laughter was still in the marble. The elevator doors opened. My pulse jumped, thinking it might be him again. But it was only his assistant, Claire, the one with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She hesitated when she saw me. "Mr. Ashford asked if you're coming in today." My voice almost failed me. "I'm on duty, ma'am." She frowned slightly. He meant his office. I froze. I didn't want to go. But saying no to a man like Liam Ashford was like refusing gravity. I followed her up to the top floor, the air too still, too clean. His office was made of glass and silence. He stood by the window, back to us, sleeves rolled up, hair still damp from the morning shower. Claire left quietly. The door clicked shut. I waited. He didn't turn around. "I couldn't sleep," he said. "Not after last night." Neither could I, but I said nothing. He finally faced me. The calm mask he wore in public was gone. His eyes were tired, searching, almost pleading. "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" My throat tightened. "Because you're not the same man." He flinched, just barely. "Maybe not. But I remember enough now to know you weren't just anyone." I shook my head. "You shouldn't remember. It's better if you don't." "Better for who?" "Both of us." He came closer. "You think pretending erases what happened?" His scent, that faint mix of cedar and something darker, pulled at a place in me I'd buried. "It's not pretending," I whispered. "It's surviving." He stared at me for a long time, then stepped back, his jaw tight. "Tell me everything, Micah." I hesitated. "That's not my name." "I know," he said quietly. "But it's the one you chose to keep living. So tell me, Micah, what happened to us?" The word "us" shattered something inside me. For a moment, I saw it again, the old apartment, rain dripping through the cracked window, laughter muffled under blankets, whispered promises of forever. Then the accident. The hospital. The letter I was never supposed to find. "You had an accident," I said. "They told me you died." His eyes widened. "Who told you that?" "Your father's lawyer came to me. Said you were gone. He gave me money and a contract to disappear." I was scared, Liam. "I was carrying your child." The silence between us turned heavy. "My father did that," he said finally, voice shaking. "He made you leave. He made me erase myself," I said bitterly. "And I did because I had no choice." He looked stricken. "You lost the baby?" I swallowed hard. "Not exactly." I turned away, unable to face him. "One survived. For a moment. And then she didn't." His breath caught. "She? She never took a full breath." My voice broke. "I buried her with a name you never knew." Liam's eyes glistened. He pressed a hand over his mouth as if holding in the pain. The room blurred. For a second, I thought I might fall, but his hand shot out and caught my arm. His touch was warm, too familiar. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I swear I didn't know." I closed my eyes. "I know." We stood there for a moment, the kind of silence that breaks bones. He finally released me, stepping back as though realizing he had no right. "The kids, they're not yours, are they?" I shook my head. "No." But when they looked at me for a second, I thought maybe fate was mocking me. He exhaled slowly. "They're surrogates." I thought it was the only way to fill the emptiness. "Did it work?" He smiled sadly. "No." The intercom buzzed suddenly. Claire's voice came through. "Mr. Ashford, your father is here." The color drained from his face. "He never comes unannounced." He looked at me, a silent warning in his eyes. "Stay out of sight. Please." I ducked into the adjoining archive room just as the door opened. Through the glass divider, I watched the man who destroyed us walk in, tall, silver hair, calm as stone. "Liam," he said smoothly, "I hear you've been digging into old files. Hospital records, personal logs, care to explain?" "I wanted answers," Liam replied evenly. "About that night." His father's smile was thin. "Some things are better forgotten. Not when they ruin someone's life." The older man's eyes hardened. "Be careful, son. Curiosity can be dangerous." I bit my lip to keep from making a sound. The way he spoke, cold, measured. It was the same tone I remembered when he'd handed me that envelope years ago. When he left, the office felt colder. Liam came to the doorway, expression unreadable. "You heard that?" I nodded. "He knew exactly what he was doing," he said. "I won't let him bury this again." I wanted to believe him. But his father wasn't the type to lose control easily. That night, I found a sealed folder on my cleaning cart. No note, no sender. Inside was a single page, a hospital report from years ago. My name printed clearly at the top. My breath hitched. The date matched the night I gave birth. But at the bottom of the page, a signature chilled my blood, Liam Ashford. It wasn't possible. He was unconscious that night. Unless someone forged it. Or worse, there was something I never knew. The next morning, Liam didn't come to the office. His assistant said he called in sick, but his voice on the phone was distant, strange. By evening, I knew something was wrong. I found his car still parked at the basement lot, the driver nowhere in sight. Papers were scattered on the passenger seat, copies of the same hospital report. Then I noticed the message written in black marker across one of them. Stop digging or you'll lose more than your memory. I felt the blood drain from my face. Someone was watching him. Watching us. And as I turned, I caught a flicker of movement near the stairwell. A figure slipping into the shadows, familiar enough to make my stomach twist. My old coworker, Nate. The one who'd once promised to help me start over. Only now, he wasn't smiling. He was holding something metallic in his hand. My breath caught. For a second, I couldn't move. The dim light from the basement lamps flickered across his face. Enough for me to recognize him completely. Nate. His expression wasn't friendly anymore. The easy smile I remembered was gone. In its place was something sharp, resentful. You shouldn't have come back here, Micah, he said quietly. You were supposed to disappear. My pulse pounded in my ears. What did you do to Liam? He tilted his head, almost curious. The CEO? He's fine. For now. But he's digging into things he shouldn't. You both are. He took a step closer. The metal in his hand glinted. A knife. Small but steady in his grip. Why? I whispered. What are you trying to hide? He smirked. Not me. The man who paid me. And then I understood. Liam's father. The same man who had once offered me money to vanish. Had found someone else to make sure I stayed gone. I ran. My shoes slipped on the wet floor. But I didn't stop until I reached the elevator. My heart thrashed so loud it drowned out everything. I hit the button again and again until the doors opened. By the time I reached the top floor, my lungs burned. Liam's office was dark, but his desk light was still on. Papers were scattered everywhere. The window was cracked open, rain blowing in. And then I saw him. Liam was on the floor, half conscious, a bruise on his temple and blood seeping through his shirt. Liam. I dropped beside him, shaking his shoulder. Hey, look at me. He groaned, eyes fluttering open. Micah, don't talk. Stay awake. Please. He tried to move, but winced. He came looking for you. I know, I said quickly. Nate. He's working for your father. His jaw clenched. I figured. The lights flickered. Thunder rolled somewhere above. I tore a piece of my sleeve and pressed it against the cut on his arm. You're losing blood. He caught my wrist weakly. Don't leave me. The tremor in his voice broke something inside me. I won't. His eyes softened for a second. I remembered everything. I froze. The hospital. The baby. The rain. I remember holding your hand before everything went black. His breathing was uneven, but his gaze never wavered. They told me you were gone. I wanted to find you. Tears blurred my vision. And I thought you were dead. He smiled faintly. Guess we were both ghosts for a while. Sirens wailed in the distance, faint but growing closer. Someone must have called for help. Liam's head dropped against my shoulder. Stay, he whispered. Please. I pressed my forehead against his. Always. The paramedics arrived minutes later. Everything after that felt like static. Voices, flashing lights, questions. They took him to the hospital. I followed in a separate car, soaked to the bone, shaking all over again. At the hospital, they wouldn't let me in at first. I wasn't family. But then one of the triplets, the smallest one, with the dimple, spotted me in the hallway and ran up, hugging my leg just like that first day. Mommy, she whispered. Something inside me broke open completely. The nurse hesitated, then quietly said, You can go in. I stepped into the room. Liam was awake now, pale but smiling weakly. His arm was bandaged, his hair a mess, but his eyes looked alive again. The triplets climbed onto the bed carefully, curling against him like tiny kittens. One of them looked up and asked, soft as a sigh, Daddy, is he our mommy now? Liam turned to me. For a moment, the world stopped. His hand reached out, trembling but sure. Yes, he said quietly. He always was. Tears spilled down my face. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, staring at the family I'd lost and somehow found again. He held out his hand, and I took it. For the first time in years, it felt like breathing again. The triplets giggled softly, snuggling closer. Liam looked at me through tears, whispering, "Home." And for the first time, I believed him. Outside the room, the hallway lights flickered. A woman stood there, watching through the glass, her face half hidden by the shadows. In her hand was an old photograph, a younger Liam and a woman who looked nothing like me. She traced the edge of the photo with her thumb, eyes cold and trembling. "You took what was mine," she whispered. Then she slipped the photo into her coat and walked away before anyone saw her. I didn't see her leave. I was too busy holding Liam's hand, not knowing that the past we thought was buried was already finding its way back to us.